my greatest hurdle in my fighting game playing career. Trying to get my nasally, whiny voice to sound even a little positive about a game that I play constantly. Courtesy of James Chen and Sejam and, those likes, for putting the idea in my head of forcing myself to make positivity-focused content, FGC content, rather. I usually make tech or opinion pieces. I enjoy the tech when I'm making it, but only when I'm actually finding cool tech, which I have found to be difficult in SF6. To be fair, I've already posted like 5+ hours of overall Lily tech. It's just that after that point, I've not been finding much more than that, and no one is going back and watching those videos, so my tech output is currently at 0, which makes me unhappy. Right here at the start, for this little moment, let me begin by sharing some random tech. Alright, here's some little random tidbits that I haven't seen people doing or talking about, or if they know about it and aren't using it, I'm not entirely sure why they aren't using it, so let's get started. First things first, everyone knows that DJ's heavy flash kick anti are very reliable. It's very, very high above his head. But the heavy flash kick works like this. I understand why people don't use the medium flash kick, because it'll trade sometimes if you're a bit late or certain jump timings, but a lot of the time it works just as clean. It's a perfectly reasonable anti-air. If they jump and you're ready for the flash kick, it's an easy input. And the thing that I don't see people using is that anytime you get a medium flash kick anti-air, you can double up, seriously tack on some damage, almost 3k damage. And yeah, it's not very spacing dependent. It works basically all of the time. I don't see anyone doing this. I don't know why. You can also do it into level 1. You can also do it into level 3. I don't know why people don't do this. I genuinely do not know. I can only assume they just don't know it, even though it's very simple. Okay, next we have just another thing that this is like relative to I want to talk about damage optimization for a number of characters and just in general. But one thing that I don't know if people also know, because I never see people do it, even when it would confirm for the kill, is you can do medium flash kick in mid-screen into level 1. And the most optimal conversions, no matter how much drive gauge you spend, is to end with drive rush, crouch fierce, and then do a... There's two versions of this. One, the most basic version that is like very easy to input, always clean damage, is to go into drive rush, stand fierce, crouch strong, medium flash kick, then level 1. That's way more optimal than any of the level 1 conversions I see people doing in mid-screen with DJ. The other thing that's technically more optimal is crouch fierce, stand fierce, which requires tighter execution, but is even more optimal. Next, I just want to talk about optimal damage in general. Now, I don't know the optimals. I have this notebook. You hear the pages fluttering, right? The wonderful wonderful gift of paper. I have this notebook full of optimal conversions for a bunch of different characters, down and down the list, from like fucking Sim, standing, stand light punch, crouch light punch, heavy blast, relative, where to only do 2 jabs, where to do 3 jabs, depending on how much drive gauge spent for conversion. So I have tons of shit for mapping out the actual optimals depending on the starter, the conversion, super gauge, and how much meter you're dumping and what the optimal routing would be. I don't have it for every character, but I have it for quite a few characters. One of the ones... Okay, so some characters like Ken, there are certain things that are known to be optimal, but are just kind of difficult. So like when people shimmy with Ken, sometimes they always shimmy with Stand Fierce, right? But sometimes they do this into that. That's 2580. Sometimes they do this. That's 30-70. Optimal would be that for 32-20. If you want to spend meter, a lot of the times, and this is not just for Ken, like every player does this, even though there are usually more optimal like punish counter conversions, they get a shimmy and then they do like stand fierce drive rush into... A lot of them will go for this, and we'll talk about that in a second. That's literally less damage than just doing the meterless version. As you can see, 31-58. Now, optimally, if you want to spend some meter here off of this conversion, the technically best option, but the execution is some of the highest in terms of some of the hardest for Ken combos, is this. Because you have to get this precise timing, and you have to do it more precise than usual. And then you have to get the last one is more precise than you usually need to get it. There, 35-70. That's optimal for a shimmy for 2 bars, and it's generally more optimal than any drive rush conversion you would get either. Especially since EX moves are generally more optimal if you can use them to convert to big damage than doing drive rush cancels, because if you do EX moves, you get to regen your meter during the combo, so it costs even less. The other thing is that when Kens land, this is corner specific, when Kens land any normal, when the opponent's in the corner and they buffer into drive rush, they always keep doing their mid-screen combo, right? In mid-screen they do this. Okay? And they keep doing that in the corner, too. They do this. That's bullshit, okay? That's bullshit conversion, okay? When you're in the corner, you do this. Off of drive rush cancels, and this will always... The scaling will only ever become more and more in this conversion's favor. You do this. Okay? If you want slightly less damage, but significantly more super gain, okay? So, let me demonstrate how much super gauge you build for each of these combos. So that builds you... I have a piece of tape on my monitor that you guys can't see where I measure the actual super gauge. This is around 3.1 in my arbitrary scale, okay? Versus the damage optimal, which builds a bit less, okay? This builds about like 2.6 relative, if we consider 0 to 7 to be the thing, because that's just how I wrote it on my piece of tape. Shut up. But this will be better damage than the other conversion that people normally do, slightly less damage than the most optimal, and it will build significantly more super gauge than either of them. But yeah, this is just, like, pile this on to all the other things. Like, his optimal conversions off of most stuff will generally be... If you want to do an optimal 5-bar something, you once again do this route, which is, again, harder. This is the hard execution shit. Whatever, you get the point. So, anyways, there's another thing, which is, optimal conversions for closing out a round, and then I have all the things that are technically the most optimal. This is, again, a lot of people just default to doing the same combos over and over, and then if they think they can kill, right, they land something, they go into their default, and then they spend like a level 1, right? Okay, well that does 25-47. This does 26-46. Slightly more optimal, but this is just all around in general what I mean, is that the way the scaling works in this game, especially because every type of super scales to a different percentage, level 1s, 2s, and 3s, etc., and the way combos break down, and the things that add scaling, such as drive rush cancels and special cancels into supers and stuff, means that most characters have, like, you kind of have to do different routing depending on what you start with and how much scaling you put in and which super you're going to use. So, if you want to be optimal, and this is probably the thing that you can control most in this game, competitively speaking, is understanding your optimals and understanding how to best translate your resources to optimal damage. This is just a thing that you can do with every character. For instance, like, Manon. Most of the time, if you're playing with Manon, the crouch strong back fierce, this is going to be like more optimal in terms of damage, and then if you want to go into a super, you do drive rush back fierce, stand strong, level 1, etc. And even then, people don't always do that. A lot of the times you just see the default, they can just go into this, which is less damage. But one thing is that when you get high, like deeper into it, once the scaling gets really hard, back medium kick target combo is actually more optimal in terms of adding slightly extra damage once the scaling doesn't matter for scaling to level 1, etc. So there's all sorts of instances where you can eke out a bit more damage. In terms of Ken players are constantly losing like hundreds and hundreds of damage in terms of what they're actually doing versus his truly most optimal shit based on their starter, what they confirmed from, and how much resources they spent. He has really optimal shit, and people are not doing it. My next point, this is just a general thing, but I always see when people, like Luke players, punish a sweep or something with Stand Fierce, or they just get a whiff punish with it, a lot of the times they just go in a drive rush like this. This, I think, is completely unnecessary. If you know you're going to get a punish counter with Stand Fierce, just go for the light knuckle, and then... Why am I dropping this? And then do that. It costs 1 bar instead of 3, and it's the exact same conversion. Next, this is another general thing, but super gain. Lots of characters, you might be surprised to figure out which moves of theirs and which combo routings build the most super. For instance, going back to Ken, because I know a lot about him in this game, did you know that EX Tatsu builds the most super of any of his specials? Not that, you know, EX Tatsu really matters in most of the circumstances, but Ken does have routings that will build over a full bar of super. So if I put his super down to 1, and I put the opponent at crouch, because that's where he builds the most super, he builds over a full bar of super on that. So, you know, you can sometimes structure your combos not necessarily for scaling or damage, but if you just build enough super that you can tack on a super at the end, a lot of the times you can kill off of that. Now, in a lot of circumstances, this isn't necessarily relevant because most combos that people are doing are just the routes that they would do anyways, and it's not like they have a dedicated super gaining route compared to anything else. Some characters have particular, like, micro-walk options that build extra super. So, like, Chun-Li has driver, stand strong, micro-walk, stand strong, crouch strong. That, is valuable in some circumstances, especially put micro-walks, for the optimal 6 drive bar conversions. So she can build over a full bar of super off of that. Next, I don't know if this is known. I wouldn't know if this is known. I don't see any tech bros with Zangief, but you can't get this. If I'm remembering the correct thing, yeah, you can't get this. So instead, you would have to do Drive Rush, right? But the problem is, if you do... You can't do Drive Rush raw off of this, and if you do Drive Rush in a crouch medium, or Hell Stab or whatever, it goes underneath. There is a trick to this where you can do Hell Stab delay cancel Drive Rush, and then into EX Borscht Dynamite for huge damage. Next, we have, like, fucking sweep punishes. A lot of the times I see people doing weird, weak sweep punishes. So people will just do, like, okay, like if a Chun-Li, like, blocks this and they're in range for it and it's -10 and she doesn't have that many other things, she'll either go for a sweep punish herself, which, if she's out of range, is respectable enough. Or a lot of the times you'll just see them do, like, low forward drive rush and then just do whatever combo they would have normally done. Instead of sweep punishing with EX legs. into so-and-so. Did you know that Ken has probably the farthest sweep punish in the entire game? Other than supers, not including supers. Oh no, I'm not in range to punish this, cause if it's on Drive Rush, Zangief sweep, oh, it's only -9. Oh no, my stand roundhouse doesn't work anymore, even though it usually does. Oh no, I'm out of range for my crouch heavy kick. What am I gonna do? Maybe I'll use the furthest 9-frame move in the game, EX Tatsu. I am very new to labbing JP. In fact, I've literally played 0 matches with him since I've been busy. I've been doing other shit. But, one thing, now that I've decided to bite the bullet and pick up the character, very new, labbed him some of the least out of any character in the game, but I can't help but notice that I found a couple optimals that I think are more optimal than what people are doing. Now first, I have all this, I have in my notes here all of the optimals for mid-screen and whatnot, JP optimals, here we go, etc. And then we have, let's see, so in mid-screen at a certain point, if you need to go into it's less good to do this route than it is to do Drive Rush, stand roundhouse towards roundhouse level 1. Other than that, it's just the same as what people would normally be doing. Optimal for full meter, etc. for level 1, mid-screen. But mostly, I found some interesting stuff in the corner that I haven't seen people doing. Okay, so first of all, I always see people doing, okay, any Drive Rush conversion they just do into this, and they do into this. One thing that I don't see people doing, and this is probably because there's better things to be doing, but optimal damage off of these usually tends to be going into Ghosty, because Ghost hits harder than any of his other specials. I don't see people doing that, probably unnecessary, and they probably want to set up for better shit most of the time. So, that makes sense why I don't see that. The other thing is that if you get like a random Crouch Strong and it's not a counter hit, Crouch Fierce is not the optimal conversion. It is the easier conversion, it's not the optimal conversion. That is more damage, and it's just more damage, it's more reward, etc. Here, let me see how much. It's more super, too. The other thing, whenever you can get Drive Rush into stand roundhouse, and then obviously go into the forward roundhouse, again, people often do this, and then they do whatever the fuck they feel like doing after that point. But, the thing about this is that there's actually a more optimal, not a better setup, but a more optimal conversion. So you get, like, counter hit, stand strong, you go into this, you go into this. You can do that. That's most optimal damage for not tacking on any additional meter. You go into heavy ghost, or medium ghost immediately, then do a sweep. More optimal. Beyond that, there's a lot of optimizations in the corner for using EX Stribog, which I never see anyone use ever. I don't think I've ever seen anyone intentionally use this move. But it's more optimal in a lot of circumstances, so if you land, like, stand roundhouse and you want to convert into a level 1 or something, or you get, like, a jump in from neutral jumping someone's throw tech or something, you do this. That's a lot more damage than you would get from any other thing that you're doing with a Drive Rush cancel or something into level 1. Oh, look at this pussy shit. Garbage. Fucking embarrassing. This is less super gain generated, relatively speaking, but it costs way less meter because it's an EX move, not a Drive Rush cancel. And it's just more damage. I don't know why people don't do this. You can get this move off of the target combo, stand fierce, crouch fierce, back strong target combo. etc. Similarly speaking, if you do land your target combos, you can get a better conversion, or if you do land like some heavy or something, or counter hit crouch strong or something, you can go into roundhouse, walk up, get a high hit on that into medium ghost, and then do level 1, and that's more optimal than what you would have gotten otherwise. I have lots of Honda tech. I don't know, I literally don't remember how much I've posted of my Honda tech. I labbed him a lot when the game first came out. There's a lot of things that I figured my contributions would be pointless and people would just start implementing all these things. That being said, I have not seen a great deal. Okay, 1, not a lot of, like, dedicated Honda players. 2, Nassim Claw, already a very tech-heavy player, plays Honda. He's got a lot of, like, the, like, I already posted my video about Honda meaty clap routes and shit. So, lots of meaty clap things. That's the most convenient one by far. Nassim uses this a lot. But anyways, there's a lot of other things that kind of drowned out in terms of my old Honda tech that people still don't use. 1, and this applies to Ryu as well, I don't know why people don't use these plus on block EX moves. I actually don't. I don't know why people don't use Punch Walk. EX Punch Walk is +2 on block, which is very handy for a character who has to have back charge to get all of his good neutral tools. You can also cancel this into level 2. It has a potential follow-up, which you can use on hit. More importantly, I don't know why people don't use this on Burnout. Regular Punch Walk. All the time I see in Burnout, they just do these 2 specials over and over. Punch Walk is +1 on block, and you can do it from like any normal. Crouch Strong Punch Walk is a frame trap, and it's +1. You can do this at any range. And then you're plus in their face. Next, there's just all sorts of Honda tech that, you know, got lost by the wayside. You've got clap as a hit confirm into Sumo Spirit cancels, or frame traps into EX hands. Just using EX hands in neutral, which is just a wall of active frames that auto confirms into a combo on hit and is safe on block, and moves you forwards, which is handy for the character. Anything that moves you forwards while maintaining back charge. There's other things such as using Punch Walk just by itself to move forwards while maintaining back charge, not even to strike, but just to move forwards against projectile characters. So you can do this, walk into a projectile, and you've still had back charge the entire time, which you wouldn't have if you dashed or walked or drive rushed forward. So you can do this, walk into a projectile, but you're much closer, and you have back charge the entire time. They throw another projectile, EX headbutt through it. Punch walking against projectiles, very good. And you also get this option, which also has a frame trap, which you can throw in sometimes, because fuck you. Lots of weird Honda tech, lots of like Twitter Honda tech as well, like if you get like a weird, goofy, situational side switch with the backwards into the sweep. Other things like that, you've got, let's say the opponent neutral jumps after a thingy, vertical jump, and you have Sumo Spirit. You can anti-air with clap and then go into conversion, depending on your resources, with Sumo Spirit, etc. I have a million other data points that have just gotten lost. I'd have to dig up for Honda, but I feel like Honda has not evolved in terms of how people play him, and all the shit that I found in like week 1 I figured other people would find it too and start using it, and I don't think they have. Right, okay, this is just a conversion thing. If you get a low float and you tag someone with Jump Strong with Dulcim, you can always hit confirm it into a light level 1. And then, this is a thing that some characters can make use of more than others. Okay, first I need to explain some things about how drive gauge works. So, if you're blocking, let's say you do drive rush, low forward into low forward, drive rush, crouch strong. You build a little bit more drive gauge on the crouch strong because there was a gap. But if you did drive rush, crouch jab, or if you did stand fierce, drive rush, crouch strong, you don't build it. You have to wait for there to be a gap before you do your button for you to be able to build any drive gauge off of it. Which means that you can use this, and this is convenient if whatever button you use to, one, if the opponent doesn't have a reversal, and thus you are more safe in putting gaps in your drive rush strings. Or otherwise you are using buttons that you can block DPs from, buttons that are plus enough on drive rush cancels. Which not all characters have conveniently, but some do, a lot do. So, if the button that you're using to be plus afterwards is a heavy button or something that builds you more drive gauge, this builds you a little bit back. More, you know, it builds you back some of your drive gauge in a little chunk on the first button that you do. Another thing to consider with this, and this is something that I feel like more people need to be actively thinking about in terms of some of their tech, is confirming that the opponent is blocking and not parrying, and then burning out their drive gauge. So, for instance, let's pick Chun-Li, right? So if I put them at block after first hit, let's say I get a conversion, I do this, and then it's at a perfect frame for me to, I'll put them at crouching. You can get a meaty roundhouse and a forward dash, which means that if you tag them blocking, you can do that. That is a true block string all the way through. You can do that mid-screen, whatever. True block string, so once they block the first hit, there's nothing to worry about. They can't perfect parry, they can't reversal anything. They would have to drive reversal and lose more drive gauge. And that, after blocking the first hit, you can force them to burn out an entire bar of drive gauge just from blocking that one thing. It's safe, you can convert it into whatever you want, and you build extra drive gauge. So let me put myself at 3 bars to demonstrate. As opposed to that, so that would just build me like whatever. If I do this, I can build more drive gauge in a safe sequence, so once they block the first hit, this is safe to DI. If they do wake up DI, you can counter DI it, etc. Sequences just to burn drive gauge and otherwise lock them into a true block string that's long enough to rebuild your own drive gauge. I think Jury is a character that can make good use of it because once you get them to block anything, okay, for instance, very significantly, forward heavy punch. You ever get them to block a forward heavy punch? Perfect opportunity. You have like two Fuhujin storages. Just do this. Just do this. It's a true block string, and it forces them to burn through over a full bar of their drive gauge on block, in addition to building yourself a lot back. I think this is a perfectly, for the rate in which Jury like regains Fuhujin storages and has them available and can get them if she needs them, I think this is more than a valid tactic to use. Confirm that they're blocking with a drive rush or with, you know, a 2-hit button or whatever like that, and then do the true block string into this and then into that, and you build a lot of drive gauge back, and they're forced to burn through all of that. And then you have to look across the cast and which characters have, like, convenient things that, like, true block strings that, after blocking the first thing, burns out a significant portion. Ken does not have a great one, but Ken has DR Stand Fierce Step Kick, which burns a full bar and is a true block string. This is punishable, but not by characters with shitty 4-framers, so it is not punishable by Jury, Lily, or Dalsum. Dalsum players, of course, already do this in abundance. This is something that Dalsum players already factor into their entire game plan. that is just more people need to do this, where they're constantly confirming this into, like, medium flame, because it's a true block string at, like, most ranges, and it burns through a whole bar. Dalsim's really good at doing this, and it's also, his kit is built for him to prioritize stuff like this. Okay, I don't think people realize how fucking monstrous JP's level 2 is. Like, for instance, okay, and this is far from optimal, what I'm about to show you. This, I just I have not have a ton of JP experience playing JP or labbing JP. I scrapped this together in 10 minutes. This is a true block string. So let's say you get a knockdown in the corner, you set up your EX, and then if you do a roundhouse and they block it, you can true block string them into burnout from full meter. You need 1 bar. Like, see this? I'm starting this with 1 bar after an EX move. You can easily fucking burn them out with level 2. Etc. And again, that's probably far from optimal. You can probably do that even easier, and with spending less meter. Once you confirm that they are blocking, if you're a character that has a convenient way of, like, doing a long-ass block string where you can just eat and eat and eat at their drive gauge, I think that is a really fundamental value and thing in the game. Okay, one thing that, like, I don't know why DJ players don't do more is just, like, if you happen to clip someone with this low, or just any old random hit that you can't convert from, just do stand fierce heavy fireballs. There's no gap for you to be DI'd. It's a 3-hit move, so just doing this counters DI by itself. You only risk, really, the main things that you only risk, like perfect parry or whatever on the stand fierce, but once it's blocked, that burns through a whole bar of drive gauge. It puts yourself at a nice, healthy distance, 0 on block. I don't know why people don't prioritize doing this, burning through the drive gauge more. Especially with characters that can easily, like, do one thing, check and see if it's blocked, and then confirm that there was no parry, and then just go to fucking town on their drive gauge. Okay, now that I've had my bit of fun, let's talk about the game. Left to right, I like World Tour mode to an extent. It's great single-player content for a fighting game, honestly. It really is. It's like a few mods away from being even better. The characters are shockingly well represented in World Tour mode. Like, I was expecting dog shit anime writing, but it's actually really charming for a lot of them. I love the avatar stuff, mixing and matching the special moves and the movesets. I haven't played any of the game's extreme battle mode stuff, so I have no opinion on that, sadly. I like the soundtrack more than it seems a lot of other people do. There's definitely an element of the music being more suited to an at-work or driving playlist than a hype tournament match. But as I spend most of my time in training mode, this casual playlist suits me fine. I love Chun's theme, Manon's, and I like Jamie's and Kimberly's. I like the Zangief theme because it sounds similar to some other track that it constantly is, like, on the tip of my tongue, but I've never managed to remember what the fuck it is. The character representation across the whole game, speaking, I love Luke in this game as a character. I love Manon. I really like Kimberly. I think she's like a super cool bucket of inspirations. I like this version of Chun. Dalsim. I always appreciate Fail Girl Jury. I appreciate Marisa, and I enjoy Lily. This is my favorite version of Blanca in every sense, and he's the only character in the game that I consistently like watching high-level matches of. I like the style and costuming in general, even the overpriced DLC ones. As an enlightened yabai enjoyer, I find it interesting, stylistically, the shift from SF5's focus on booba to this game's penchant for loquacious posterior. To which I appreciate Kimberly and Lily a great deal as an erudite purveyor of posterior. I'm literally a guy that puts actual fucking pornography in my end of the year recommendation, so I'm something of an expert on the subject. For movesets, I love Blanca and I like Jamie. I'll always enjoy Dhalsim in any game. I find the balancing of lower strike damage rushdown characters between Cammy, Kimberly, and Juri to be interesting from a game design perspective. I'll probably have a video up on abstract theory versus practical theory sometime soon. I think this game's mechanics change Cammy's playstyle in a kind of interesting way by shifting the balance and the function of dive kicks, which I feel is exemplified the most when I watch Punk play. I like Guile's interactions with the system mechanics. I feel like the concept of Guile getting low forward punish counter into flash kick is the coolest and most interesting application of the punish counter system in the entire game, and it makes the most sense to me in terms of game design, and I just in general feel like Guile is the most competently designed character. I like Zangief's buttons, both using them and playing against them, playing around them, for their minimal reliance on the system mechanics, and that I find less interesting, like the drive rush cancels and stuff. I like playing Honda. I like playing Dhalsim. I always enjoy playing Dhalsim in every game, but it should be stated that I do enjoy him, relatively speaking, in a game where I've yet to find a character that I connect with mechanically. In terms of satisfaction, I love landing command throws in this game, especially on punish counter. I still get some satisfaction, not as much as I used to, but some satisfaction from getting a clean counter DI. I enjoy doing Luke's combos, the perfect knuckles feel good. I enjoy playing Honda versus Guile for some reason. I liked making tech for Lily when I was finding new cool things for the character. I find a somewhat thrilling challenge and mystery to the abstract analysis of the game's systems and meta. Not that I particularly enjoy attempting to execute those abstract analyses. I like doing micro-watt combos that build the extra bar. I like Modern in concept and in execution. I will only ever play Lily in Modern. I will vouch for Modern Lily's merits and superiority. I like Rashid's level 2 in this game. In terms of things that are really fucking just powerful in general, Rashid's level 2 is one of my favorites because it's much more open-ended and interesting play and counterplay around it. I like Aki's EX slide and Blanca's level 1 with the doll for plus frames and such, the more interesting defensive tools. I like Amnesia in theory for the out-of-the-box counterplay required to deal with the extra projectile that it places, but in practice, though, fuck Amnesia. I like Luke's level 1 in this current cast and build as a unique anti-fireball reactionary tool in a cast that broadly lacks those types of tools. I like Lily's level 2, also in theory, although I don't think a lot of its more creative applications will ever be seen in real matches by the nature of the risk-reward not being appealing enough to be worth going for. I like Kimberly's style of Kimberly's style of getting many aggressive small cuts and separate strikes still manages to work in this game, in a game where a single perfect parry can kill all your momentum and a single medium buffer drive rush can kill you. And I think it's interesting to analyze why Kimberly can still be competitive and get away with that. And I mean, I do think that when you actually look at when people post tier lists, I think Kimberly is probably, I would say, one of, if not the strongest character who has no real defensive move, no real reversal. Let's see. So I think overall her design is worth studying and seeing how her moveset operates within the system mechanics in a way that other characters don't really. I like DJ's EX Fireball, just the way it works. I just like it. I like perfect parries solely as anti-airs. I like their application as anti-airs and their risk-reward relative to, not having time to do a normal or not getting the angle but still being able to perfect parry anti-air but then risking empty jump throw and things like that. That I find, meh. I like whiff punishing with Zangief's sweep. I wish more characters in the cast had a sweep that was by far and away their longest, most functional whiff punish tool, so that there were more low damage whiff punish interactions more often than just half health whiff punish interactions. I like JP's Crouch Fierce anti-air. I always appreciate good brain dead fucking anti-airs because I need them. Let's see. I think the placement matches in Ranked are smart and mostly accurate, though I have mixed feelings about not experiencing the climb from bottom to the top, to have a personal measure of how far you've actually gotten with any given character. Generously speaking, if I were to state my feelings, I like playing Lily. Despite the things that I don't like about it and about playing the game in general, when playing others or doing other things other than playing more ranked with Lily, I feel some level of disappointment that I would rather be playing Lily in ranked. Overall, I'm optimistic about the future of the game. I really am. I'm optimistic about the future and, like, next year's Pro Tour or something. I don't like this year's format for the Pro Tour, and I don't like that I feel a bit isolated from the thoughts and meta and ideas of a lot of the other countries and a more homely base of the community, and instead most interactions are relegated to either corporate events or fractured internet groups on a rapidly declining internet chat room service. But I feel like they'll make the Pro Tour better next year. More characters will come. I don't know what the next step of the community is while Twitter is dying and a cesspool and no longer really, I feel, a good place for the FGC to live and interact on. But anyways, yeah, I'm sure the game will be changed eventually to meet some level of expectations of many players, just to keep the game spicy and fresh, etc. So they'll add things just for the sake of themselves and the sake of creativity as well. I hope that they add Laura, Balrog, Vega, Bison. Although I would also personally greatly appreciate Adon, Relento, Falk, Elena, and Armika a great deal, but I am much more doubtful that those characters will occur. If nothing else, I would appreciate a negative edge character, because right now there are 0 negative edge moves in the game. I'm also dubious that they're going to add any character with any unorthodox input types ever again, so I can only cross my fingers and wait for that. Anyways, that's what I like about the game. Thank you for my incredibly difficult and my mentally damaging attempt to sound even slightly positive about anything in my entire life. I'll go back to being myself now. Thank you.